Most people over 70 are tracking the wrong number when it comes to sleep. They count the hours. 7 hours, 8 hours, sometimes 9. And then they wonder why they still wake up exhausted. Why their mind feels foggy by mid-morning. Why their body aches even after a full night in bed. Here is what almost no one tells you, and what researchers at Harvard and the National Institute on Aging have now confirmed. It is not just how long you sleep. It is when your body is biologically ready to sleep. And after the age of 70, that window shifts in ways most doctors never explain clearly enough. Today, I'm going to change that. I'm Dr. Anthony Fauci, and for more than 20 years I've worked closely with patients in their 70s, 80s, and beyond, patients who are doing everything right on paper and still waking up drained. Over the years, I've come to believe that sleep is the closest thing we have to a free prescription for healthier aging. No copay, no side effects, nothing to swallow. But only if you take it at the right time. And that is precisely the part most people over 70 get wrong. We're going to look at what happens inside your body after 70 that quietly changes your sleep clock. What the research actually says about the ideal bedtime for older adults. And what 3 common evening habits might be working against you every single night without you ever realizing it. Stay with me to the end, because the last section might be the most important one you watch this year. Before we get into it, I want to hear from you. Drop your first name and your age in the comments right now. Tell me, what time do you usually go to bed? And more importantly, do you wake up feeling genuinely rested? I read every single comment, and your answer helps me create videos that speak directly to what you're going through. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that right now. We publish new senior health videos every week, and you don't want to miss what's coming. Why your sleep clock quietly shifts after 70. Let me ask you something. Do you ever notice that around 8:30 or 9 in the evening, your eyelids start to feel heavy? You're sitting in your favorite chair, the television is on, and suddenly every part of your body is saying, enough for today. But then you tell yourself it's too early. So you push through. You make another cup of tea. You scroll through your phone. And then, an hour or two later, when you actually do climb into bed, sleep doesn't come as easily as it should. If that sounds familiar, I want you to understand something very important. You are not imagining it. And you are not just getting old. What is happening to you has a name, and it has a biological explanation. Inside your brain, in a tiny region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, sits your body's master clock. This cluster of about 20,000 nerve cells coordinates nearly every rhythm in your body. When you should feel alert. When you should feel sleepy. When your temperature should rise. When your hormones should shift. Research published in the journal Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews has confirmed that the suprachiasmatic nucleus physically deteriorates as we age. The cells become fewer. Their electrical signals become weaker and less coordinated. The result is that your internal clock loses some of its precision, and it begins to run on an earlier schedule. Think of it like this. Your internal clock is like an old family clock on the mantelpiece. It still keeps time, and it still works beautifully. But over the decades, its springs have loosened just enough that its hands run a little ahead of everyone else's watch. Scientists call this an advanced circadian phase. What that means in plain language is this. The biological signals that once told your body to wind down at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night now arrive closer to 8 or 8:30 in the evening. Your body's programming has shifted forward by 1 hour, sometimes by as much as 3, and no amount of willpower can override that shift permanently. Here's something even more striking. This isn't just about feeling sleepy earlier. The shift changes when your body releases melatonin, the hormone that initiates sleep preparation, and when it begins releasing cortisol, the hormone that prepares you for waking up. Studies from Brigham and Women's Hospital, affiliated with Harvard Medical School, have shown that older adults often experience melatonin release up to 90 minutes earlier than younger adults do. Their morning cortisol rise also begins earlier. What this means is that your body's entire biological schedule has shifted. And when you force it to follow a younger person's timetable, night after night, something breaks down. I had a patient I'll call Walter, a retired 76-year-old pharmacist, who came to see me not because he couldn't sleep, but because he was sleeping terribly, 8 hours in bed and waking up feeling like he'd barely rested. He told me he'd always been a night person. Proud of it, even. He and his wife used to stay up watching old films until midnight. When I asked him how he actually felt at 8:30 in the evening, he paused. Honestly, like I could fall asleep in the chair, he said. But I don't. That seems too early. I explained to Walter what I want to explain to you now. His body had changed. His clock had advanced. His body wasn't failing. It was giving him a new schedule. The exhaustion he felt every morning wasn't aging. It was a mismatch between his habits and his biology. And the encouraging part is, a mismatch can always be corrected. And that correction rarely takes medical heroics. It takes knowledge, it takes consistency, and it takes a bedtime that honors the body you have today, not the schedule your memory insists you used to keep. Now that you understand why the clock shifts, here is the question every older adult wants answered. What is the actual time you should be going to bed? Because doctors do have a specific window, and the research behind it is more compelling than most people expect. Let's be precise here, because vague advice doesn't help anyone. Based on multiple lines of research, including large-scale sleep studies published in journals like Sleep Health and JAMA Network Open, as well as clinical guidance from sleep specialists at the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins, the consensus for adults over 70 points to a bedtime window of 9 to 10 in the evening. Before you fixate on the clock itself, hear me clearly. The 9 to 10 window is not a magic number carved in stone for every single person. What matters far more than the exact minute is consistency. The same target window night after night, because your master clock thrives on predictability. Not because it sounds tidy. Not because of tradition. But because of what happens inside your body during that specific window. Here's what most people don't know. Your deepest, most physically restorative sleep, the stage scientists call slow-wave sleep, or stage N3, occurs predominantly during the first half of your night. This is when your pituitary gland releases growth hormone, which repairs tissue, strengthens muscle, and supports immune function. This is when your blood pressure drops to its healthiest overnight levels, a phenomenon cardiologists call nocturnal dipping. And this is when your brain's glymphatic system, a waste clearance network discovered by neuroscientist Mike Nedegard at the University of Rochester, becomes most active, flushing out toxic proteins that accumulate between brain cells throughout the day. One of those proteins is amyloid beta. Researchers have linked long-term amyloid beta buildup with Alzheimer's disease. Sleep isn't just rest. It is literally your brain washing itself clean. Now, here's why timing matters so much. If you go to bed at 11 o'clock at night, when your melatonin has already been rising since 8:30, you've delayed the start of that deep sleep by more than 2 hours. You've narrowed the window in which the most powerful biological repair happens. You may still sleep 7 or 8 hours, but the best hours, biologically speaking, are the ones you missed. Going to bed between 9 and 10 aligns your sleep with your body's actual biological schedule. You enter deep sleep during its most productive window. You allow your blood pressure to dip at the right time. You give the glymphatic system its full opportunity to work. In one study involving over 600 adults aged 70 and older, participants who maintained a consistent bedtime between 9 and 10 in the evening reported significantly lower rates of nighttime waking, higher scores on daytime mental clarity tests, and better self-reported cardiovascular health compared to those who went to bed after 11 o'clock at night, even when their total sleep hours were similar. I remember speaking with a woman named Evelyn, 73, a retired schoolteacher. Sharp as anyone I've ever met. She came to me frustrated. "I've always heard that what matters is how many hours you sleep," she said. "I get 8 hours. Why do I feel like I'm running on empty?" We looked at her sleep log. She was consistently falling asleep around 11:15 at night and waking around 7:30 in the morning. Technically 8 hours. But her body's melatonin was peaking closer to 9 o'clock in the evening. By the time she finally went to bed, that first deep sleep wave had been delayed significantly. We made one change. She began preparing for bed at 9 and aimed to be asleep by 9:30. She was skeptical. 6 weeks later, she called my office just to say, "I don't know what happened, but I feel like myself again." That's not a miracle. That's biology working the way it was always designed to work once you stop fighting it. Change here is not a battle against yourself. It is simply a realignment, a small adjustment that tells your biology you are finally listening to it again. If you're still watching, and what I just shared about the 9 to 10 window made something click for you, type the number 2 in the comments right now. It tells me this is landing for you, and it helps this video reach more seniors who need to hear it. So now you know what happens inside your body when you sleep at the right time. But I want to go deeper, because the benefits of getting bedtime right after 70 go far beyond feeling less tired in the morning. What we're really talking about is protecting the length and the quality of your life. So let's look at 3 specific things that happen when older adults consistently sleep within the right biological window, things that most health conversations never connect to bedtime. First, your heart gets a genuine recovery period. Cardiologists at the Cleveland Clinic have long emphasized that blood pressure doesn't remain flat while you sleep. In healthy older adults who go to bed at the right time, blood pressure naturally drops between 10 and 20% during the night, what doctors call a dipping pattern. This overnight drop gives the arterial walls genuine rest from the constant pressure of circulation. But in adults who consistently go to bed late, or whose sleep is fragmented from a misaligned schedule, this dipping pattern is interrupted or absent. The heart never fully decompresses. Over months and years, researchers have linked this non-dipping pattern to higher rates of left ventricular hypertrophy, a thickening of the heart wall, and to elevated stroke risk. When you go to bed in sync with your circadian phase, you protect that dipping window. Your heart gets the recovery time it physiologically needs. It's one of the most underappreciated cardiovascular interventions available to any senior, and it costs nothing. Other heart interventions ask you to remember a pill, weigh a portion, or track a number. This one asks for nothing but a single decision you make in the evening. Which is why, year after year, I've watched it become the favorite change among my older patients. Second, your brain builds memory and clears out what shouldn't be there. During deep, slow-wave sleep, your hippocampus, the brain's memory center, consolidates the experiences and information from your day. It transfers important memories into long-term storage and discards what isn't needed. Simultaneously, the glymphatic channels I mentioned earlier open up to roughly 60% larger than they are when you're awake, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow between brain cells and wash out metabolic waste. Research from the National Institutes of Health has shown that even 1 or 2 nights of poor or mistimed sleep measurably increases amyloid beta levels in cerebrospinal fluid. 1 night. Now imagine what years of chronically delayed bedtimes do to that accumulation. This doesn't mean poor sleep timing directly causes Alzheimer's. But the relationship between sleep quality, sleep timing, and long-term brain health is one of the most active areas of research in neuroscience today, and the evidence strongly suggests that protecting your deep sleep window is one of the most meaningful things you can do for your cognitive longevity. Third, your metabolic health stabilizes overnight. Many seniors are surprised to learn that the timing of sleep directly influences blood sugar regulation. During sleep, particularly deep sleep, the body's sensitivity to insulin improves and glucose uptake into cells increases. The liver also reduces its overnight glucose output, helping to keep fasting blood sugar levels in a healthy range. Studies published in Diabetes Care have shown that circadian misalignment, going to bed at the wrong time for your biological clock, disrupts this overnight glucose regulation, even when total sleep hours remain the same. Older adults with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes who corrected their sleep timing without any other dietary changes have shown measurable improvements in their fasting glucose and HbA1c levels over 3 months. Sleep timing isn't a replacement for your medication or your nutritional plan, but it is a powerful, underused lever in metabolic health, particularly after 70. Before we move on, if what you've learned in this video has been valuable to you, I want to ask a small favor. Click the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells YouTube that this information matters, which helps us reach more seniors and families who need it. And if you have a friend, a parent, or a neighbor who's been struggling with sleep, please share this video with them today. You might be giving them the one piece of information that changes their mornings. Now let's keep going, because we're not done yet. Knowing the right bedtime is one thing, but there are 3 specific things that millions of seniors do every evening that silently prevent them from ever reaching that deep, restorative sleep, even on the nights they go to bed early. Let's go through them right now. Mistake number 1. Treating light like it doesn't matter after dinner. After the sun sets, your brain is waiting for one signal above all others to begin releasing melatonin. Darkness. The problem is that most modern homes are flooded with bright overhead lighting in the evening hours. And that light, particularly blue-spectrum light from LED bulbs, televisions, tablets, and smartphones, directly suppresses melatonin production. Research from Harvard's Division of Sleep Medicine has found that exposure to blue light in the evening can delay melatonin release by up to 3 hours. For a younger adult, that might mean feeling alert until midnight. For a 70-year-old whose body is already trying to release melatonin at 8:30 in the evening, bright evening light can override that signal entirely. The fix is simpler than you might think. Around 7:30 or 8 in the evening, begin dimming the lights in your home. Switch off overhead fixtures and use warmer, lower wattage lamps. If you watch television in the evening, try reducing the screen brightness. These small environmental changes work with your biology instead of against it. Mistake number 2. Eating a heavy or late evening meal. This one surprises people, because the connection between digestion and sleep quality isn't obvious. But here's what happens. When you eat a large meal close to bedtime, your digestive system remains highly active. Blood flow is directed to the gut. Your core body temperature rises from the metabolic work of digestion, and your insulin levels spike and fluctuate. Your body cannot efficiently prepare for deep sleep while simultaneously processing a significant meal. The result is that even if you fall asleep, you spend more time in lighter sleep stages and less time in the slow-wave deep sleep that actually restores you. Research consistently recommends finishing your last substantial meal at least 2 to 3 hours before your target bedtime. For seniors aiming to be asleep by 9:30, that means finishing dinner by 7 in the evening at the latest. If hunger strikes later, a small, easy-to-digest snack, a few whole grain crackers, a small amount of yogurt, is far less disruptive than a full meal. Mistake number 3. Watching emotionally stimulating content right before bed. This is perhaps the most widespread evening mistake of all, and it's the one that almost no one connects to their sleep problems. When you watch a tense news broadcast, a suspenseful crime drama, or scroll through emotionally charged social media content before bed, your brain doesn't simply turn off when you close your eyes. The amygdala, your brain's emotional alarm system, remains activated. Stress hormones, including cortisol and adrenaline, remain elevated. Your nervous system stays in a mild alert state that is biologically incompatible with entering deep sleep. A 2021 study in the journal Sleep Medicine Reviews found that emotional arousal in the 60 minutes before sleep significantly reduced slow-wave sleep duration in adults over 65, even when they appeared to fall asleep normally. The hour before you go to bed deserves to be treated as sacred wind-down time. Gentle music. A short, uplifting book. Quiet conversation. A few minutes of breathing or gratitude reflection. These aren't just pleasant. They are neurologically meaningful preparations that lower cortisol, calm the amygdala, and create the physiological conditions your body needs to move into deep sleep efficiently. If you're still here, and the 3 mistakes I just described hit close to home, type the number 4 in the comments below. You're not alone. Most people have never been told that light, food timing, and what you watch before bed are directly affecting the quality of the sleep they're getting. Now you know. And here is the hopeful part you might have missed. Every one of those 3 mistakes is reversible tonight. The light you dim, the dinner you time, the screen you switch off, each one is a small act of biological kindness your brain will remember. So you understand the mistakes. Now here's the part one want you to carry with you, because knowing what not to do isn't enough. You need a practical, gentle plan that actually fits your life. And I've kept it to 5 habits, because if a change is complicated, it won't stick. Habit 1. Shift your bedtime gradually, not all at once. If you're currently going to bed at 11 o'clock at night and your goal is 9:30, don't try to make that jump in one night. Move your bedtime earlier by 15 to 20 minutes every 3 or 4 days. Your circadian clock adapts much better to gradual shifts. Within 2 to 3 weeks, 9:30 in the evening will begin to feel completely natural, because it is natural for where your body is right now. Habit 2. Get morning sunlight within 30 minutes of waking. This is the single most powerful circadian anchor available to you, and it costs nothing. Natural morning light signals your suprachiasmatic nucleus to set its daily timer. Research shows that consistent morning light exposure helps advance your circadian phase, making it easier to feel sleepy earlier in the evening. Step outside for 10 to 15 minutes in the morning, or sit near a bright window. This one habit reinforces every other change you make. Habit 3. Create a consistent wind-down signal each evening. Your brain learns through repetition. When you perform the same sequence of calming activities in the same order each evening, dimming the lights at 8, making a cup of chamomile tea, reading for 20 minutes, doing a few gentle stretches, your brain begins to associate that sequence with sleep. Over time, starting the sequence is enough to begin triggering melatonin release. The routine becomes the biological cue. Habit 4. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Your core body temperature must fall slightly for deep sleep to initiate. Research suggests a bedroom temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit is optimal for most older adults. Use blackout curtains or an eye mask to eliminate light. Consider a white noise machine or earplugs if ambient noise is an issue. Your bedroom environment is a tool. Treat it as one. One of my patients described it to me this way. When her bedroom felt like a cave of cool, still darkness, her body knew what to do before her head even touched the pillow. Habit 5. If you wake during the night, don't watch the clock. One of the most damaging habits any sleep specialist will tell you about is clock watching during the night. When you wake at 2 in the morning and look at the clock, your brain immediately begins calculating. I only have 4 hours left. I have to fall back asleep. That anxiety itself elevates cortisol and makes returning to sleep harder. Turn your clock away from view. If you wake and can't return to sleep within 20 minutes, get up, sit in dim light, do something quiet, and return to bed when sleepiness returns. Fighting wakefulness while lying in bed trains your brain to associate bed with alertness, exactly the opposite of what you want. Let me bring this all together for you. After the age of 70, your body's master clock shifts. Your melatonin rises earlier. Your biology is asking for a different schedule. Not a worse one, just a different one. Fighting that shift is what leaves millions of older adults exhausted, foggy, and robbed of the deep sleep their bodies need most. The research is clear. A consistent bedtime between 9 and 10 in the evening, combined with morning light, a wind-down routine, a cooler bedroom, and an end to the 3 evening mistakes we discussed, gives your heart, your brain, and your metabolism the overnight recovery window they are biologically designed to receive. This isn't about going to bed early because you're old. This is about going to bed on time for the extraordinary, complex, still working body you have right now. No matter how many candles were on your last birthday cake, your body still runs on the same ancient circadian machinery that has kept humans healthy for thousands of years. It simply needs you to meet it halfway. Now, here's what I want to leave you with. We talked today about when to sleep. But there's another question that matters just as much, and most seniors have never been told the answer. What you do in the morning, after good sleep, is just as important as the sleep itself. The morning habits that lock in your circadian rhythm extend the benefits of deep sleep and protect your brain through the rest of the day. That's what we're covering in the next video. So if you don't want to miss it, subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to know when it goes live. And if this video gave you something valuable today, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and share this with someone you love. Because better sleep after 70 isn't a wish. It's a decision. And it can start tonight.